All right. This is Shukaka Rob here from GMS Virginia. Going back at you again. First and foremost, want to give our praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bashem, Yahweh Shah, Bashem, Makakwadash. Second, want to give double honors to the apostles of GMS that rule as well, and a peace, blessing, salutations to the hopefully elect. Now, I just had the video, but it went away. So, all right. This video here from the brother's page, Arrows of Indignation 144. And it's funny because I heard it from Jake in the World. And then, evidently is, is going viral. What Trump supposedly put up the monkey with Obama and Michelle Obama's head on some monkeys. And one thing for certain, this is all rhetoric, wiles, antics, and snares. And one thing for certain, you got to understand, Obama is a Hamite. He's not our people. But I get it. It's lucky. Basically what you have to understand is that these Edomites are really showing themselves in these last days. And, as we're finding out, so-called Negroes, Latinos, Hispanics, Native American, West Indians, that we are the 12 tribes of Israel. We have to get ourselves right, mentally prepared, because things are about to, get crazy out here. You have these Edomites that are ready to go to war, wage war, and pretty much have a civil war, and also destroy each other. And then you have these Edomites that are realizing, and I've been hearing it even on my own. I work around a bunch of rednecks, and I'm talking about true country rednecks. They don't like nobody. They don't like me. And whatchamacallit, every once in a while I'll catch them talking amongst themselves, and they be going in. They know that this system is corrupt. They're pretty much just waiting that time. So, these devils are really just showing the world who they really are, which at one point they had, everybody believing that they're Christians and loving and they care for humanity. But we're coming to find out that they're the sons of the wicked. Let me get a couple of scriptures. So let me get these real quick. So let me see. Oh, let me see. What did I want? Slocky. What did I want? Damn. Second Thessalonians, my bad, damn. In Romans. My bad. Slocky. Let me see if this is one I wanted. No, that's not it. Second Thessalonians. Come on. I think it's 4. Yeah. So, let me get it in the NLT. Let's see what it says in the NLT. So, 2 Thessalonians 2. Oh, yeah, my bad. Damn, I don't know what that was going on. So 2 Thessalonians 2 and 1. Now, dear brothers and sisters, let us clarify some things about the coming of our Lord Hamashiach Yahushua and how we will be gathered to meet him. So, we understand this gospel, this message is to bring us together in one spirit and one mind. So, we're learning to detach ourselves from the society, from this world, and pretty much forsake all these things. Hey, like that that song, which is a classic, that KRS-One, Love's Gonna Get You. So, whatever you love and put your all in, don't, how you say it, don't be fooled or don't be shocked when it comes to bite you in your ass if you love, these things in this world. So what we're learning is in these last times is to put all our eggs in a basket for Yahweh Shah and our power Yahweh for the new kingdom that's going to be brought back, righteousness that's going to be brought back on the earth. Because at this point, Esau's a joke. It's like that old Public Enemy song, 911 is a joke. Esau, these Edomites, the so-called white man, is a joke. It is not, it's funny how all you so-called FBAs, foundational black Americans, right? And these, you so-called black Americans and you so-called Native Americans and, our people, how you're so, driven to forgive and love and trim your way that the so-called white man can love you and honor you and have respect for you. But this man constantly shows his hand, how he really feel about you. Nothing has changed. Ever since slavery, they so-called let you go, let you free, and then he turned your ass right into criminals to justify their hatred on you. So, 2, don't be easily shaken or alarmed by those who say that the day of the Lord has already begun. Don't believe them. Let me see. So, yeah. Don't believe them even if they claim to have had a spiritual vision, a revelation, or a letter supposedly from us. Don't be fooled by what they say, for that day will not come until there is a great rebellion against Yahweh Bashim Yoshai and the man of lawlessness is revealed. So prior to us, the prophets and, the truth that's been hidden for so long, you've been having a lot of, Christians talk about a rapture, etc. But, they're coming to, you're starting to find out Christianity just ain't got it, And what you're finding out is this whole use of Christianity and religions, like you just had this fucking monk thing, man, this shit, I'm not gonna lie, this shit irked the hell out of me, man, because me personally, I would have never thought some fucking monks walking would have brought so many people out and, had people really, I'm talking about standing in the blood fucking cold and, recording, videotaping, and it's talking about how honorable it is, of God it is, and so spiritual it is, but it's showing you the condition of these people. So it says, don't be fooled by what they say. And I don't know if Dalai Lama or whatever, I don't know if he's tied to Buddha. I never really looked it up, looked too much into it, but his name is coming up around in the Epstein whatever list, and I overall I just find everything funny how you're walking from somewhere from Texas all the way to DC talking about some peace. So where's ICE? So it says, for that day will not come until there's a great rebellion, what you're seeing now. Everything here in America is lawlessness, is open rebellion. It's a satanic, vibration. Everything is against the Bible. Everything is against Yahweh Shai. Everything is against righteousness. And what you're starting to really see, that the so-called white man, he's not a Christian. He's not a lovable. He's not a man of the Lord. He's an Edomite. He's the sons of the wicked. He's the damn devil the Bible speaks of. And this whole infrastructure, this whole system is driven to blot out Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, who the world ignorantly calls God in Christ. It said the one who brings destruction. And that's what the so-called white man is eventually going to do. He's going to bring his own ruin. He said, because pretty much that snare and that trap that he's setting up for everybody to fall, he's going to fall. Because eventually, the Lord is going to have these other nations rise up, the NATO, the beast, the whore. So like NATO and the EU, the beast. in Russia, Magog is going to pretty much turn, these other nations are going to turn their back on America. So he said he will exalt himself and defy everything that people call, the Most High Power, Yahweh, and every object of worship. So he will even sit in the temple of Yahweh Bashir Shah, claiming that he is himself a power. And what you're seeing is Amalek. He's trying to build a third temple, which is carnal as hell, because he don't understand what the hell's going on. And which is already a spiritual temple being built within everybody's eyes. The one thing for certain, these people don't really want to admit that we have the truth. Because they, especially, ultimately because they know that these Edomites are devils. So let me go to Revelation 18. So it said Revelation 18 and 2. I'm sorry to go to just 2 to 4. So it says, and he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, and become the habitation of devils. And let me see, matter of fact, I think I have one of this in the NLT. I'm going to go back to the regular. So, and he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, and has become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and the cage of every unclean and hateful bird. For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. And what you're seeing is, ultimately, you're going to see the great destruction of America. And, what you're seeing is these devils, pretty much showing their true colors. These other nations have thought that the so-called white man was a Christian. He's lovable, he's fair, he brings peace, he brings aid, a handout, helping, love, etc. But you're starting to find out it's a two-edged sword. He when he comes around, it's of no good. It's for his own, to fulfill his own purpose in his own belly, and to pretty much blot out anything righteousness that has to do with anything. So it says, what you're seeing. So it says, and I heard another voice from heaven saying, "Come out of her, my people." That's going to ultimately come talking about the chariots when this place gets destroyed, and partakes of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues, for her sins have reached unto heaven, and Yahweh Bashim shall have remembered her iniquities. So that's what you're seeing. The so-called white man pretty much, what is it? The shame, the spoon, roughly paraphrasing. And what you're seeing is that the so-called white man really showing you what he is. And his pride, his stoutness, and his arrogance is blinding him. The scripture says in Obadiah, how are the things of Esau searched out? And the world is starting to see, that this man is not who he claims to be. So eventually, right as of now, things are being set up in place to, pretty much bring this place down. And what you're seeing, the New World Order being set up, the MOTB, the new currency, a new system, which ultimately, when it comes to fulfillment, and it's going to, these other nations are pretty much going to know that, hey, at this point, we have to go to war. Because the so-called white man is pretty much setting up a power system that he's trying to make everybody bend and turn and break everybody. So it says, reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her, double according to her works. In the cup which she have filled, fill to her double. How much she have glorified herself and lived deliciously. So when you got to understand, the so-called white man, he's been able to live deliciously. He has glorified himself. His whole system. He's able to talk shit. Here it is. This man is the most evil, wicked, the devil, and he's trying to call us monkeys. You know, here it is, this man, you know, this whole Epstein, and that's lower level. You know, that's, you know, anybody that's in awe and distraught over the fucking Epstein is, that's just a small, that's just 2% of the other 98% that's really going on of what these so-called white men are doing behind closed doors, and the so-called white women. You know, a very small percentage. That's lower level. That's just you know, that's just out there. That's been put out there to keep you people distracted and pretty much not, your eyes not attended on the real problem of the world. And that's the whole problem of the world, is the whole so-called white race, which are the biblical Edomites. And they're in power. And they're coming to bring their own agenda, which is the satanic pseudoscience, technocracy infrastructure, which will blot out anything righteousness. And if you don't bow down or succumb to it, hey, you know, you're going in that camp, you know. So it says, so much torment and sorrow give her, for she saith in her heart, I sit a queen, and I'm no widow, and she shall see no sorrow. Therefore her plagues come in one day, and that's going to be those nuclear missiles. Death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire. For strong is the Lord power who judgeth her. So again, you know, these places, you know, America has become a habitation of every foul spirit here. You know, one thing that helped this place become like that is the illusion of that you're free and you can do whatever you want to do. You have many options, right? But it just doesn't make sense. So let me get this. Let me see. Psalms. Let me see what Psalm 73 says. See what it says in the NLT. So, a psalm of Asaph, Psalm 73. For I envied the proud when I saw them prosper despite their wickedness. And, you know, one thing for certain, we cannot deny, you know, it seems as if, you know, this so-called white man says the most heinous shit out of his mouth, even going into, I believe, Sirach, I'm going to just roughly paraphrase it. It talks about how the rich is able to say certain things and say things, and pretty much nobody blinks an eye. But if the poor says something, you know, they're pretty much smacked or rebuked. So it says, yeah, the so-called white man's he's you know, it seems as if this nigga's never going to be judged. You know, it's like they're able to live a full life, like the Rothschilds. You know, you have all those Rothschilds that's been dying out, but you got to remember, you know, there is reincarnation, and you know, you don't have to believe it or not, but you know, the Lord has a great judgment that's going to store out for those Rothschilds. They're going to, you know, when our infrastructure is set back up on this earth through Yahweh Shah, those Edomites who have died, that lived, I'm talking about, wreaked havoc. You know, had snares, they set traps. You know, all your Edom, all those Edomites that destroyed our people, set up legislations to destroy our people. What's that big pedophile that was in Europe? I forgot it. Some Sullivan, I believe. And he pretty much lived a long life. And he had about, I think, over 140 cases, probably roughly more, of accusations of him touching little children. And he died. He was able to just die. You know, he never got, nothing ever happened to him. But those Edomites will come back into our kingdom. and they will suffer. They're going to be judged. And that's how the Lord works. Here it is. You have this notion underneath Christianity that you die and go to heaven or hell, which is all bullshit. That's all Greek mythologies and ideologies and philosophies. And that has pretty much, shaped the American society. But that is all wrong. The reason why so-called Black, Latino, Hispanics, Native American, West Indians are catching hell is because we sinned and transgressed. And when we came back into this system of the so-called white man, we got judged. We're living in hell, and the so-called white man is living in pleasure in heaven. So the roles are about to reverse. So it says they seem to live such painless lives. You see that? It's like these devils can, say whatever they want, do what they want, and they live a full life and they just die, in peace. But they didn't. Don't ever think that they just got away scot-free, because they have to come back in our kingdom. Their bodies are so healthy and strong. They don't have troubles like other people. They're not plagued with problems like everyone else. They wear pride like a jeweled necklace and clothe themselves with cruelty. Yeah, these fat cats, these fat cats have everything their hearts could ever wish for. Yeah, they scoff and speak only evil. What's his name? Fauci, Bill Gates. This lower levels. And again, you have all those fake rats. You have all those Edomites in Europe. You have all those, these Edomites that got the big, the bankers, the living lavish. You're never going to see them. They move in secrecy. They got their own jets. They live underground. They have, all the resources. They're able to, come to the meetings, be there, witness what happens, and then they're able to go back to their regular life. Or they got men that are, that talk or speak for them. These Edomites, man, they're, and that's whack in itself. Here it is. You have all this power, but you got to remain in secrecy. That's not going to be our kingdom. You're going to know who we are. This man, and that just shows you how much of a loser he is. You're a fucking weirdo. So in their pride, they seek to crush others, and that's what they do. They boast against the very heavens, and their words strut throughout the earth. And so the people are dismayed and confused, drinking in all their words. What does Yahweh know, they ask. Does the Most High Power Yahweh even know what's happening? Which he does. That's why you're seeing those chariots. Look at these wicked people enjoying a life of ease while their riches multiply. So he's able to, nothing's going to happen to Trump. Nothing's going to happen. He's being used. He's doing a good job. Jake is, nigga, you ain't gonna do nothing. Shut up. You still are the white man. You still care about his kids. You still care about his woman, and you still care about the man. You Jakes are too compassionate, but you hate your own people. And you, damn, 9 times out of 10, you hate yourself, but you love that goddamn Edomite. So it says, did I keep my heart pure for nothing? Did I keep myself innocent for no reason? And that's how it feels. It's like, damn, here it is. I'm trying to do right, but it's like I'm being, beat down for being right. And that's why, and a lot of Jake has, pretty much, they have that mindset. And it's like, damn, I'm trying to do the right thing, but it's like nothing's coming from it. And here it is. I look at the so-called white man and these wicked ass niggas, 2/3. And it's like they're winning. Well, that's what the system wants you to think. But ultimately, the reward is going to come from Yahweh Shem Rashad when this infrastructure, this wickedness be taken out of this earth. Taken out of existence. I get nothing but trouble all day long. Every morning brings me pain. If I had spoken this way to others, I would have been a traitor to your people. So I tried to understand why the wicked prosper, but what a difficult task it is. Then I went into your sanctuary, O power, and finally understood the destiny of the wicked. Truly you put them on a slippery path and send them sliding over the cliff to destruction. See that? In an instant, they are destroyed, completely swept away by terrors. So ultimately, let me see. When you rise, O Lord, you will laugh at their silly ideas as a person laughs at dreams in the morning. So ultimately, the Yahweh Bashim Rashad, uses, Satan, spiritual demon Satan on the left-hand side, and he has Esau, the so-called white man, in a trick bag, because the so-called white man actually believes he's going to rule forever, despite that he's going to get the New World Order, but he's not going to keep the New World Order. But all's well, he was edified. With that, I say shalom.